about the Oregon offense? Well, the USC defense doesn't seem to be the best of candidates for this assignment, but they'll be showing up at Austin Stadium coming up on Saturday. We've got Ryan Winter on the line from SportsChat 503 to break down the Ducks for us, and quite the season for Oregon football. Ryan, how you doing?
Fantastic, Mark. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, man. And all the listeners out there, Voice of College Football is the best, isn't he?
We do our best. And, man, you got to head on over. Check out Ryan's work there. Again, SportsChat 503. It's right here on YouTube, just to skip away just a couple clicks so you can get right on over there. Man, Oregon had a rough first half for them. Let's qualify that for them for what is turning out to be arguably the best offense in the nation, and they got a pretty darn good argument. Bo Nix threw a pick on the first play and then shook things off, and this Ducks team did what it's pretty much doing each and every week.
Yeah, last week was one of the weirdest games I've been to. I've been to a lot of games in my time, and I've seen a lot of different games. Cal, for whatever reason, brings out a weird – it's like haunted. It always has the weirdest weather. We've had monsoon. We've had all sorts of things with Cal. We've gone overtime with them. We've beaten them when they're super good. They've beaten us when we're super good. And it just goes back and forth. That first quarter was the weirdest first quarter I've ever seen in any game ever in my life. Basically, everything happened that could have happened except for a safety, a kickoff, or a punt return. Everything happened. They got an interception on the first play. We got an interception on the first play. We returned one back to the house just to have it called back. We have, I mean, a variety of things happened in that first quarter. It was definitely ugly football, but yeah, the rest of the way, the Ducks did what they did, and then they really put an exclamation point on it. I know we're past the days of the, quality wins or, exclamation point wins or whatever you want to call it, where you were trying to increase your value of each win, but it felt like there were some style points put on the board this Saturday.
And Ryan, of course, we are just one day away from the second unveiling of the college football playoff rankings. Oregon sitting in that top spot for one-loss teams, and I think they certainly have earned that over Texas and Alabama. So you got to be pretty happy about that.
I am, and we were talking about I do a live stream 5:30 to 7:30 Pacific Coast time every Tuesday throughout the whole year, and it kind of lines up nicely once the rankings start coming out, because the rankings come out right before that time, and then I'm gonna try to jump on your guys' channel, the Pac-12 channel. You guys do a great job. There are a bunch of SC guys. They should be having a field day right now with what's going on there. Yeah. The rankings, I think, are pretty well established. They're respecting Oregon this year, and that's something that we didn't really expect to see going into this year. Me, as kind of an old school Duck fan, I never thought I'd see a day where we would be ranked above Bama and have one loss and they have one loss. I never thought that'd be the case, and it is. And they're giving respect to not only the conference, but also to the Ducks itself. So I'm really excited. I think they've got a great opportunity going forward, and we'll see if they can cash in this weekend against SC.
So, Ryan, Tez Johnson went nuts in this game against Cal, 12 receptions, well over 100 yards. When we look at, I'm going to take this to the defensive side as well, the offense and the defense in regards to nobody has any question about the depth at all these positions. And I'm thinking more of skill position players as well in terms of producing offense. But those teams that make a serious run to the playoff, get into the playoff and do damage, usually have a couple special type players. Are you looking at these skill position players and then also taking it to the defense, guys that can change games, make hits, make pass breakups, strip sacks, game-changing plays on both sides of the ball? Are you seeing those types of players emerge?
Yeah, I am. And I think that, a lot of it has to do with the fact of the transfer portal. A lot of it has to do with the fact that COVID gave you the extra year. So guys like Bo Nix, he would already be done, right? I mean, so it's a situation now where you have a lot of veteran leadership on this team. You have guys who played a lot of football. We talked about the guy that got the pick, Steve Stevens. He's a senior. He's a veteran guy on the defensive side. But, on the offensive side right now, it's just a very, very unique situation. I mean, we're living in recency bias, obviously, but you can make an argument that Bo Nix is one of the better Oregon quarterbacks of all time. I mean, that's a very unique group to be a part of. That you're talking Marcus Mariota, you're talking Justin Herbert, even though Herbert didn't have the college career that he has had in the pros. You're talking about Dan Fouts. You're talking about, Dennis Dixon, Joey Harrington, a variety of guys who are very well established. Akili Smith, a great college quarterback. And I would say that Bo Nix is of that same group. He is an absolutely efficient quarterback. Yes, he has had his time at Auburn. That doesn't count against him at Oregon. Since he's been at Oregon, outside of that one Georgia game, and then when he got hurt in the Washington game, come off that one, they lose the Oregon State game, and then they lose this year at Washington. There's not been many losses, and this guy is throwing over 70%. I mean, he's in the conversation nationally as long as Michael Penix is as well for the Heisman, which is phenomenal. The fact that the Pac-12, the Northwest especially, is carrying the load right now for those two guys. But they also have a phenomenal running game. Bucky Irving's one of the better running backs we've seen in years at Oregon. He is a phenomenal back. And we've got some great wide receivers. Troy Franklin's been a guy since day one. He got hurt going into his freshman year, but that was a guy his freshman year we were expecting to make plays. He's done nothing but be great the whole time. And then they add Chris Hudson over here. When Chris Hudson this year was supposed to be the main guy, we haven't seen him at all. We haven't seen him at all because Tez Johnson came in and basically it feels like took his spot, and a variety of other guys, Trayshawn Holden, other guys have come in on the transfer portal. But, this was a year we thought, oh, man, this is going to be great. Troy Franklin, Chris Hudson. We haven't seen Chris Hudson catch a ball this whole year. So, I mean, it's been an amazing embarrassment of riches, if you would. And the whole Tez Johnson, Bo Nix relationship with the adopted brother and everything. I mean, this is a storybook thing. And, ESPN eats that up, and that drives a lot of ratings, and especially late in the year when they want to really draw out the Hallmark card celebrations at the end of the year with all that fluff that they have to do. You're a big fan of College game day, Mark. You know all those fluff pieces, and here they come, right? And so this is a year where it could be going into last year. We've talked about this every year. Going into this last summer, I expected good things from this team, but I didn't really know what we were going to get until we got here. And now we're halfway through the year. You've got one loss to Washington, which looks like a phenomenal team and looks like a phenomenal loss if you could have one. One of the craziest environments I've ever been in myself personally. And you might have a chance to repeat and go to the college or the Pac-12 championship and get a rematch with Washington. I mean, the storylines just can't get any better right now.
Well, USC would like to ruin all that, and
True.
They don't seem as though they're necessarily up to the task or capable, especially on the road. But at the same time, here is a team this past weekend that, despite coming up short by 10 points, it was back and forth, back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
They were constantly tying the game, then down by a touchdown, then tying the game, then down by a touchdown. So they fall to the Huskies, a top 5 or 6 team in the country. I don't think anyone can question that. And all things considered, for a team that's supposed to be coming apart at the seams and the season's in shambles and everything, they've got 2 losses in the Pac-12. They're 5-2. If they win this game against Oregon, pull off this upset, they've tied Oregon and they've got the head-to-head, and it's still in play for them if Lincoln Riley can convince his players that, hey, despite us taking it on the chin here a number of times, and I include a lot of close wins where they haven't looked good and people are beating them up on social media, that they're still playing for something and they could be a dangerous foe.
Oh, always dangerous. SC is always cream of the crop for us. It's always one of the things that's they're a media darling every year for a reason. Got a lot of respect for the Trojans, but this year it feels like the wheels are falling off at the wrong time. I mean, this is a tough situation for them to come into this game right now at Autzen Stadium. The way that they're playing right now does not look good. Again, I think going back at the beginning of the year, we thought this was a CFP team with a possible Heisman Trophy, repeat, and it could be amazing. They started it off well. Then you saw some of the cracks, right? That Colorado game was the first time you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Then Arizona should have beaten them. Right. That game was very close. Arizona probably should have won then. Then they had the game at Notre Dame. They get blown out at Notre Dame. You're like, okay, well, Notre Dame's a really good team. Since then, Notre Dame hasn't looked very good. Right. And then you have the Utah situation. Utah goes in there and they have a Utah problem. They've had this, but they barely lose to Utah and probably shouldn't have lost to Utah. If you get a couple tackles, you get a first down, you probably win that game. And then you go up against Cal, and you're like, okay, well, this is a kind of a, tweener game or whatever you want to call it, trap game. Cal almost beats them. And Cal should have beaten them. And again, Oregon just put 60-plus points on them. I think it was, 63-19? I mean, it was a crazy situation. So this is how this year has been. It's been a very interesting year. As soon as they got out of the gate, I thought there were a lot of people that were just waiting for these guys to lose. They were picking on their defense. Remember, Arizona State scored 28 points against them. They were like, uh-oh, Arizona State scored on you guys? You're in trouble. And here I am in the, after the game, we're seeing the first half score, and we're like, oh, my God. Washington's running all over them. Washington ran for 200 yards untouched against them. That's absurd. A team that doesn't run the ball, a passing team runs for 250 against them, and the guy runs for 200 yards without getting touched. That is absurd. So things are getting weird right now. They fired the defensive coordinator about a year and a half too late, and it is what it is. This is a time right now where it's a really dangerous situation. It's fight or flight. And the Trojans could really lock in. They could put up a great win. Like you said, Mark, they're not out of it. They beat Oregon. Then they get the head-to-head with Oregon. They beat UCLA at the end of the year. And then they're sitting there with the 2 losses in conference. They have the 1 loss out of conference with Notre Dame. And they've lost, obviously the head-to-head with Utah, which puts them in a tough position. But weird things have happened. And if Washington wins all the way out, there's a bunch of teams fighting for that 1 spot in the Pac-12 championship game. And it would be crazy if Oregon loses to USC, that could be them. Now, the big thing I think for USC right now is they're glad they don't play Oregon State. I mean, they don't play Oregon State, and they already beat Arizona when Arizona was on their rise, right? So if you played Arizona today, USC probably loses to Arizona. If they played Oregon State this week instead of Oregon, they'd probably lose to Oregon State. So I expect Oregon to win this game, but I hope it doesn't get into a weird sort of a thing where there's a lot of hype to it and there's all sorts of other storylines. I hope Oregon just focuses on the plays in front of them and it's a faceless opponent, because this is an opponent that definitely gets people's back of their hair standing up on their neck, man. This is an opponent that brings out the best in people, and SC sees it every week. For a lot of teams, SC is their Super Bowl. For Oregon, it is the same thing. There's been 4 big games this year we circled on the thing. Washington, we lost that one. Utah won that one up there in a great game. Here's the next one, and then last one's the Beavs at the end of the year.
Yeah, that Arizona team is a fun bunch. They are becoming quite the hot commodity in college football as they just get better and better and better. And anybody, that has notched a win against Arizona in your past, feeling good about not having to see them in the future, because they have taken on a brutal schedule and taken it on extremely well. So we will not see Oregon and Arizona this season, but the Ducks. What's that?
If we get to play Arizona State.
Yes, got Arizona State instead. That's a good exchange right there.
Arizona's a good team. And again, I just looking into it at the beginning, we always do this over the offseason. Who are the teams that are on the rise and who are the teams that are going down? And Arizona was definitely trajecting upward. And we just didn't know how it was going to be. And then when you had the injury situation with the quarterback and you're thinking, okay, well, this could be a dangerous situation. You're ended up with a better situation. The backup's better. So it's a great deal for them. And I do think that that's a team going forward that's going to bring a lot of juice to the Big 12. This being the last year of all these games, it's a shame that everybody couldn't play everybody. But, the Oregon-Arizona rivalry historically has been a wild one. There's been some crazy games between the two of us. So, they've got a great game against Utah. That could be a wild game for that other, last, bowl position or whatever to try to see who's where, because the last 3 weeks are going to decide a lot here. But I do think Oregon has a good chance of going to the Pac-12 championship. I think right now it's about a 50-50 shot that Oregon goes and gets the rematch with Washington in Vegas.
Everyone, as Ryan mentions, he's going to join us on our USC live show that we present typically on Mondays. It's Tuesdays this week. It's at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific with Ryan. Preceding that, you might as well just jump on over to SportsChat 503 Tuesday night. What point in the day?
I'm doing mine 5:30 to 7:30 Pacific Coast time, so I'll jump on mine after yours right around 7:30, and then we'll chat it up.
Awesome. Ryan, appreciate you being here. Look forward to seeing you on Tuesday.
Mark, you're the best. Thank you for what you do for college football. Appreciate you.